What do you say, everybody? It's time for Monday Night Quarterback right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Or if you're listening to us on the podcast, it'll be available after the show. It's anywhere you get your podcasts. So it could be Apple, Spotify. Wherever you pick them up, go to Bama Insider. That's the Alabama rival site. Every Monday we talk, and it's time for Monday Night Quarterback. Let me introduce the crew for tonight's show. Along with me, Nick Gillespie, it's great to have the beat writer for Bama Insider following the Crimson Tide all the way through the national championship season in football, and now having changed course to a top 10 basketball team, Mr. Tony Tsoukalis. Then there's... sorry, Tony. I'm sure you had something really important. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, could they be the first team since Florida, or the only team since Florida to win both titles? It could be crazy.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. I would love that, and that is really important. So very good. Got fingers crossed for Bama fans. And then there's Trey Yannity. He is our crack intern who is about to become a regular member of the team. Not that he's not a regular member now, but as he makes his way through the capstone, the University of Alabama, he comes from a legacy of broadcasters. Good to see you tonight.
Thanks for having me, Mick. As always, this show is a great time to just meet, talk about Alabama sports. There's a lot to talk about right now. All sports are rolling. Basketball is ranked in the top 10 now. Baseball is in the top 25 to start the season for the first time in who knows how long. And, football is headlines every day. Doug Marrone and Bryce Young we're going to get into tonight and much more. So happy to be here. How are you doing, Mick?
Doing great. I mean, excited. I'm sure like most Bama fans, and this is my fan hat, not my objective hat, but we're going to talk about the basketball team. It is pretty cool, though, to see a basketball team that struggled at the beginning of the season find just some absolute fire, and they're red hot right now. I do caution everyone that there's still a long way to go before we get to the point where this thing's over. But you know what? For a team that's kind of halfway there, hey, it's been a lot of fun watching these guys. But first thing I want to talk about today, guys, is Nick Saban's staff. And he's starting to put a staff together that honestly rivals and could technically be better than the staff that left. And that's really hard to believe. But he's gone into the NFL, and not one, but he got two head coaches, guys that were coaching NFL teams last year. And now they're with Alabama, and we know about Bill O'Brien. I'm excited about Bill O'Brien. I think he's going to be great. Doug Marrone is one of my favorite coaches. And so when I saw that he was coming to Alabama as the offensive line coach, and I'm sure he'll help with everything else too, that was really exciting to me. And then Tony, the only thing that could make that better is to bring a Gillespie on.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I asked if I joked with you. Is that your kin?
It is.
There you go. There you go. Inside scoop from Mick on all the running backs moving forward. But yeah, three great hires in my opinion for Alabama. You look at, let's break down the first two in O'Brien and Doug Marrone. And I think it's different than what they had. I think those are two head coaches from the NFL. So that's obviously something a little bit different. I think what's important there, and the thing that kind of strikes out to me, is that those two guys, they're friends. They're time friends. They have a relationship with each other. Their wives are friends. When you're building together a staff, sometimes it's the staff needs to mesh together. And having Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien, already having that close connection, I think it's going to help some bonding and really help this staff gel together. I also like how fast Alabama seems to be putting this together. When you look at Gillespie, the running backs coach from UNC, that's not official yet, but obviously that's definitely looking like it's going to happen as well. Look, UNC, you saw last year, they had two 1,000-yard rushers. They're a team that really ran the ball well. Look what they did against Miami, a team that Alabama's going to open up against next season. So I think that's a really good hire as well. And Gillespie's a good recruiter as well, too. Both Marrone and O'Brien have also been head coaches at the college level, so they're not just pro guys. I think it really makes sense. It's hard to say it's better or worse because it's kind of different. But when you look at, the three hires, I think Alabama did a really good job with each of them.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Trey? What do you think? I mean, it just feels like Alabama's new coaches come in with a pedigree that's better than most head coaches. These guys are coaching for Alabama, and it's because of one reason. They want to be part of what's going on with Nick Saban and the dynasty, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about these two guys, talking about Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone, were head coaches in the NFL this past season. Now they're going to be assistant coaches in college. But that's just Nick Saban's, the way for Nick Saban. That's the power that he has in the game of football, being able to get these guys. And I love these hires. I mean, we talked about Bill O'Brien last week a good bit, but Doug Marrone, it's Bronx guy. He brings a lot of grit. He's going to bring a lot of grit to this program. I saw a story today about his time at Syracuse, kind of leading up to it. He had caught wind that he might be getting that job, and he started to make a folder of recruits in the Syracuse area before it was even announced, just so we could have a head start in recruiting. I love that aspect of Doug Marrone. I think he's going to come in here, be able to recruit very well, and prove it on the field as well. This guy took his team to the AFC title just 3 seasons ago, and was competing against Tom Brady to go to the Super Bowl. So I think it's, the coaching aspect is all the way there, and the recruiting aspect is there as well. And, the relationship with Bill O'Brien is excellent to see as well. I don't think Nick Saban misses with these hires very often, but this year so far, he has hit home runs.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Marrone had the Jaguars a game away from the Super Bowl in 2017, right? Bill O'Brien last year had a 24-point lead over the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes got him. But you're still talking about two of the top coaches. But, Tony, my question about these guys, and I'm not worried about Robert Gillespie, but Marrone and O'Brien, their ability and hunger to go out and recruit.
I think that obviously had to come up when they talked with Nick Saban. I don't think that, you're going to get coaches that don't want to recruit. And like I said, both of these guys have had to recruit. What Trey just said about Doug Marrone putting together that file at Syracuse, he's had to recruit at Syracuse. Bill O'Brien, led Penn State. They both know how to recruit. They both know how to get to kids. They both worked with kids before. So it's not, yes, they are pro guys in the fact that they're coming from the pros, but they're not exclusively NFL guys who won't know how to recruit or won't be willing to recruit. I mean, obviously I can't speak to their, what they're going to approach the job mentally, but you would think that anybody that talked with Nick Saban, he would have to get a feel, of that before moving forward with the hire. So I'm pretty confident that both these guys are going to hit the recruiting, road pretty hard. I think when I look at these two hires, Mick, I look at it as, it's kind of a win now mentality. These aren't coaches you have to build up. They're not up and coming coaches that are going to be stars. And these are two win now guys. And I think that, Nick Saban kind of realizes that, look, like I'm probably going to lose coaches anyways. Might as well bring in somebody that's going to be just win now. I know what I'm going to get. He's a professional. He's used to working. So that's what I get the feel of with these two hires, is just the fact that these guys, they already know what's up at both levels. And I think it's going to be pretty seamless.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But Trey, I guess the other thing too is when you hire coaches that have been NFL head coaches, what's their shelf life at Alabama? And I'm thinking to myself, like, if Alabama lands a couple of these transfers building on what they already have, and there's a chance that they could get the linebacker from Tennessee. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but you get a couple guys like that, and it's with what they already have. And next year could be different because the defense may be amazing and the offense is catching up. But at the same time, they could be playing for another SEC and national championship. These guys probably don't stay along at Alabama if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, the shelf life for any coach that's coming into this program is pretty short most of the time. And Tony said it best. This is a win now mentality. I mean, this program is constantly trying to do one thing, and that's win national titles. Everything, all these hires, the way they recruit, everything else is part of the process of getting there. And I think these coaches are going to come in here and do an excellent job, but it very well could be for just a year, a very short amount of time. Nick Saban gets that though. He's not going to limit these coaches. If they want to go on and do bigger and brighter things, he's going to let them do that. We saw it this past offseason. Very obviously there was Steve Sarkisian, and the fact that he was able to sit there, watch Sarkisian go and take all of these coaches with him and not even bat an eye, bring in Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone, just shows that he's never going to have a problem replacing coaches. So, yeah, I do think the shelf life is going to be very short for both Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone. These are NFL guys. They may have ambitions to get back there. But, if it's not, then great for Bama. It looked like we might have Sarkisian for another year. He's not going to stick around, but Bama's not sweating it. They got Bill O'Brien now. I don't know who's next, but I'm sure it's going to be another stud. Nick Saban does not miss.
Well, that's definitely the truth. Final thought on this. I'm going to throw it to you, Tony. What does this say about Nick Saban's future, that he's hiring older, more experienced head coaches and not younger guys like Pete Golding that are learning on the job?
I think you could make the argument that it could spell that he's, wanting to win now and maybe his days are numbered. But on the same hand here, I think you also got to look at when he does hire these young guys, like let's say like a Charles Huff, right? Those guys go on to be head coaches anyways in 2 years. So, I mean, I think maybe from a Nick Saban standpoint, this could be like, what's the point in bringing in a young guy that I might have to nurture and develop a little bit more as a coach when I can bring in an established veteran that knows what he's doing, and we can because if you look at the shelf life of Marrone and O'Brien, I'm thinking 2 years probably. I think this seems to be like a 2-year cycle. I wouldn't even be totally surprised if there's some kind of almost like verbal agreement of like, hey, stay here for at least 2 years. We need you for more than a season. We don't want to be doing this every off season, and that's what I'm seeing. But like, if you're going to lose a guy every 2 years, you might as well get the experienced vet. And I personally think that's probably has more to do with it than any kind of writing on the wall about Saban hanging it up.
And to add on to that, sorry to cut you off, Nick, but Nick Saban just cares so much about this program. I don't think he's going to hire guys that he knows won't be here when he's done. I think when we start to see him decide, okay, I'm maybe going to reel it back a little bit, I'm going to start setting up for my retirement, he's going to put guys in place that can keep this dynasty going. I think that, it does show that he is trying to win now. He is trying to stack up these titles, maybe because he's trying to retire very soon. But, on the other side of that coin, I think he's going to really establish something here, for when he leaves, because he's only got however many years left. He can't coach forever.
Great to have all you guys with us tonight. And as you hang out with us, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. The Bama Insider YouTube channel is your place to come hang out, whether you like Alabama or any other SEC or college football team. We really appreciate you guys being here with us tonight. So thumbs up and subscribe. It's free and it's easy to do. And we also love the super chats. If you have a question, you throw that super chat up there. That money helps fund the station, and we'll get right to your question. All right, look, Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien, both NFL coaches and the NFL head coaches right now, their number one job is going to be trying to figure out how they can get Alabama's quarterback situation kind of handled. Paul Tyson and Bryce Young battling to be the next guy to lead the team. I feel like it's Bryce Young's team. I mean, he's the more highly touted of the Alabama QBs. But with that said, Paul Tyson, big guy, seems like he's ready to go too. Your thoughts on this quarterback situation, Tony?
I think it's definitely Bryce Young, and that's not like I've been saying, that's not an insult to Paul Tyson. I think when you look at a guy like Bryce Young and look at the opportunities, he was the guy that got the opportunities last year. What little he got, he was still that guy. I think it's definitely his job, and I think Alabama's in really good hands. I mean, this is a guy that we thought, I personally, I was high on Mac. I knew Mac was coming back, but he's a guy that a lot of people thought that, he should have been the guy or could have been the guy, maybe better said, he could have been the guy last year. And I think he's got loads of talent. I think he's going to play a lot more comfortable now that he knows it's his job. It's really important, though, that he has a good spring. He's able to, kind of build up that confidence so he's completely rolling by the fall. But everything I've seen from Bryce Young in highlights, and even there's been glimpses on, that we've seen in his short time on the field, he has that ability to really change games. I brought up the point last show, I think, when you look at Bryce Young in his dual threat ability, I think that actually lends itself to this upcoming coming Alabama offense that's losing so much, I think there's going to be times when you need a quarterback to make some plays with his legs. They're losing 3 offensive linemen. I know they're bringing in a lot of really good kids, but those guys are going to need some time to gel. They're losing some of their playmakers. And I just think that having a guy like Bryce Young that could maybe make a play happen out of nowhere every now and then could be a really big benefit for Alabama. And I think that's going to be a huge part of this offense moving forward. So I really like that skill set. I really like that fit on this year's offense. And I'm expecting some really big things from Bryce Young.
What about you, Trey? I mean, Bryce Young, was the second highest rated quarterback in his class, right? But when he was in the games last year, it didn't really feel like he was in control of the offense. But even with that said, the feeling I get is that it's going to be his job.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, at least to start. And that was kind of the feeling we had coming into this season, too, with Mac Jones and Bryce Young. It was like, well, it's going to be Mac's job to start, but we'll see how long that lasts. Obviously, it worked out pretty well for this Alabama team. But, I think he's in the same situation. It's his job to lose at this point. We got a question just a minute ago. What needs to happen for him to improve? What's still missing? And I think, when you ask that question, it makes you ask another one. Well, what's going wrong right now? And I've highlighted it before on this show. It's the maturity aspect. He's just not mature enough to lead this team yet. He's not big enough to lead this team either. Those two things combined, have kind of, I wouldn't say lowered people's expectations to an extent, but maybe showed you, or kind of were the reasons for what happened. He threw for less than 200 yards in 5 games, only 1 touchdown. That left people feeling a little bit weird after this season. But thankfully, those 2 things I just mentioned are very fixable. This program, this team focuses so much on player development, not just mentally, but physically as well. They're going to put Bryce Young, and I'm sure they already have. They have been for quite some time now, on the best weight program he could be on for, being a quarterback at this level, the best diet program he could be on. And then it just comes down to him becoming a better decision maker, him being more comfortable outside of the pocket and inside of the pocket as well, just making the right calls. He seemed a little bit timid at times this past year, and I think the hype, everything else around Bryce Young could have been, the result. That could have been the result of that. I'm not sure if he was just in his own head or if he just was making mistakes. But I think when you saw those mistakes, every time you thought about it and you said, well, I think this is a product of him just being a freshman that doesn't know exactly what to do in this offense quite yet. I think we'll see all kinds of improvement, but it starts with maturity and just getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and let me say he number one on Rivals board as far as quarterbacks coming out of high school last year. So yeah, I mean he's the guy that comes in with the with the pedigree. But is it an issue that Alabama doesn't have someone like a veteran to kind of even help tutor him and Paul Tyson, Tony? I mean, do you think that someone might transfer in and with the way that transfers go these days?
Yeah, that's a special case because you're going to have a kid that's going to basically come into the job knowing that he's not going to win the job. I think, the name that makes me kind of think right here is it's weird, but Gardner Minshew was almost going to come into the Alabama job before getting a call from Mike Leach. He was going to come into that Alabama position and really just be a guy that was going to eventually become, probably a staffer for
Right.
Nick Saban. Turns out, he was discovered by Mike Leach, sets, all kinds of records at Washington State, and now he's an NFL quarterback. So it's a weird situation. I wouldn't be totally shocked if they brought in a guy, especially, if there's a veteran guy that maybe could walk in or wouldn't have to use up a scholarship, or maybe could. It's going to be a special situation though, for that to happen. Because I don't see anybody coming in having a remote chance of beating anyone for that starting job. So I mean, how are you going to find a kid that's willing to basically just be Bryce Young's mentor? That's kind of a tough sell for a college kid. Maybe if it was the pros and the guys earning a salary or something, but it's just a tough sell for a college kid.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree with you on that. And that's going to be one of the biggest issues that the new coaches are going to have, is just getting experience to the guys who, obviously haven't played a whole lot. I mean, you're losing a lot on offense, but talent's there and the coaching is going to be there as well. And that could be why, that could be why you're Nick Saban and you go out and find all this experience. Let me switch gears, and before we do that, let me also tell you guys that we appreciate you being here tonight. This is the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe as you hang out. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. And really, it's just been unbelievable to watch the growth of this channel. I can remember starting, it was 34,000. I thought that was a lot. And here we are, almost to 50,000. So thank you guys so much. Pat yourselves on the back, and big roll tide to everybody out there that hangs. Tell your friends about it. Send a link to the show. We're going to be on. We're going to have stuff going every night of the week at 6 o'clock here that you can come hang out, and then swing by in the morning. We'll have some content for you there as well. We're going to get to the super chats. We're going to wait to the end of the show for those. So if you want to, shoot a super chat, we're going to answer it the best of our ability. And we'll do that before we bid you farewell. All right. So today, guys, switching gears. We're going to basketball. And all of a sudden now Alabama's got the hottest basketball team in the country. And these guys shot right up to the top, right? They're in the top 10 right now. I remember the last time Alabama was ranked number 1. I've told you guys this before. The last time Bama won the SEC, I was a student. I actually ran out on the court. I was like the second person out there to celebrate. Very proud of that. I somewhere have pictures of me jumping around on the court with the team. I didn't know that layup by Antoine Petway on that little backdoor pass was going to be the last time that Alabama basketball would be an SEC champ. But this team is really rolling right now, and they are in the top 10, and that was announced today. So they still have a lot of tough games, including Kentucky coming up. But the performance down at LSU caught a lot of people's eyes with the fact that they blew out LSU on their own court with all the threes. Petty's been great. Brown. I mean, like, you look at this team, and there's a lot of good players right now, Tony.
Oh, definitely. Look, they're winning these games without Jordan Bruner, who's a starting, center, starting forward. So you want to call him center, forward, whatever. And that last game, they didn't have James Rojas. I mean, another depth guy right there. They're still finding a way to win games, and that's the sign of a good team. And really, we've seen this Alabama basketball story play out where they've gone on a little bit of a roll and then they, sputter. This team hasn't sputtered. It's really shown the mental fortitude to kind of stay hungry and really rack up these wins. 9 straight wins isn't easy, and to, have 8 of those against SEC teams is really, say what you want about the SEC this season. It's still 8 straight wins against SEC teams. And if you look at the teams that they've played, it's pretty remarkable. They'll have a chance to sweep Kentucky for the first time since 1989. I wasn't even alive in 1989. I know Trey wasn't. So it's absolutely crazy. They'll be a favorite to beat Kentucky. Yeah. So it's really astonishing that the things, they're doing it. And you look at the screen right here, Josh Primo, a freshman, he's been coming on. He won SEC Freshman of the Week this week. If you get guys like that, and he gets loaded into the arsenal, and he starts really clicking as a star, I think this Alabama team can beat anybody in the nation. I mean, I think it can go toe to toe with anyone, especially when it's playing at its best and it's fully healthy. I mean, why not? It's right there. I don't necessarily think it's time to get, big heads for the Alabama team. And I think they got to stay humble, and they really still got to work it and earn it, because this is their first year as a real contender. But I think when it comes down to talent and when it comes down to teams playing at their best, Alabama's right up there. And I think they're going to be a hard out in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, look, they've got a lot of momentum, but, Trey, are these guys going to be playing at this level by the time the tournament gets here? I was looking at the schedule, and they still have half a schedule left. Are we getting a little ahead of ourselves here?
You never want to get too far ahead of yourself, especially when it's uncharted waters like it is with this Alabama basketball team. I mean, this is the first time they've been in the top 10 in 14 seasons. So, this is different. This is new, and there's some recency bias. Obviously, when a team's won 8 games in a row, you're going to be talking pretty nicely about them, like we are at this point in the season, but it's so deserved. You look at this record, Alabama is now 13-3 on the season, if I'm not mistaken, and those 3 losses all coming at the beginning of the year, all out of conference. You look at the Stanford loss early on. They lost by nearly 30 points in that game. That's a Stanford team that isn't even receiving votes anymore. So I think if they play that one back again, Alabama probably gets the victory. This was a young team that had so much depth and didn't really know exactly how to play with each other yet. Didn't really know, the style all the way around yet. You see Joshua Primo come so far this season, and credit to him winning the SEC player or freshman of the week, for this week. And the rest of the team as well. Everybody's just meshed, and this group is just so happy. You can see the energy, on the side of the court every time. The towels flying, the threes falling down. And that's just the system that Nate Oates has instilled here. Get up as many shots as you can, score as many points as you can a game. If it's remotely open, take the shot. And that's just got this team playing so comfortable, and they're really playing with a rhythm. You look at other teams though around the country that could contend. Obviously Gonzaga and Baylor are the first two that come to mind. Those two are elite this year. Baylor plays unbelievable defense. They're huge. They get up and down the floor. They're never out of it. They were down by 15 in that game at one point against Oklahoma State Saturday. They won the game by 25 points. So that's a team that really worries you as far as a matchup standpoint, because Alabama, like Tony said, is missing their big man right now in Jordan Bruner. And, while they're getting excellent play out of Jawan Gary and James Rojas and some other guys that have come in to fill in, they're small still, and they shoot the lights out of the basketball, unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's gotten them to where they are right now. But when you play a team like Baylor, you might, struggle down low. You might not be able to stay in the game if the shots don't fall early like they have been. So that worries me there. You talk about Gonzaga now. That's a team that I think matches up decently well with Alabama. I think if, you get to the Final Four, that's the matchup you want first, because they're kind of like Alabama. They get up and down the floor very well. They score a lot of points. They're a little bit bigger, a little bit longer. They get unbelievable stretch play out of this kid named Corey Kispert, who can pretty much shoot from anywhere on the floor. And, the energy is right there with Alabama's as well. Great defense. But Alabama's top 10 in defensive efficiency and offensive efficiency. Now they're top 10 in the country, top 10 in the net rankings. They're supposed to be a number 2 seed by Joe Lunardi. Everything's going right for this program, and I don't see a stop in sight.
Well, look, right now they're the only team in the SEC ranked in the top 10 at number 9. They have won 9 straight games, and they've got a 3-game lead in the SEC. So, look, but there's still 10 games left. Plus, they have the game against Oklahoma, which is a ranked team, after they play Kentucky. So there's still a lot of potential pitfalls here for this Crimson Tide team. And look, I've been following this program for a long time. That they get you excited and then they let you down. Tony, talk about the last Final Four team Alabama had.
Yeah, that was before my time, Mick. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you, but actually, they've never had a Final Four team. That's kind of a trick question, but I thought you were referring to the Elite Eight team, which is still before my time. But no, they've never had a Final Four team. But hey, with the rate this is going, I think they'll probably have one. If Nate Oates stays in Tuscaloosa for a while.
Well, that's the idea. I mean, Nate Oates has really proven himself in his 2 years at Alabama. At least right now, I mean, we're feeling really good about this Alabama basketball program, and it's because of Nate Oates and kind of his blue collar mentality. And this team really has adopted that. But they play a fast paced, fun style of basketball. They're not afraid to take the shots. Petty's been just incredible. I mean, like, he's kind of led the way, but it doesn't seem like they really have to rely on one player. And that's an advantage to this team, Trey, is that they sometimes their best player comes off the bench.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what you love about this team is the depth. And, you see 2 key players go down in that one game. I think it was this Kentucky team the first time around a couple weeks ago, and Jordan Bruner and Herb Jones. And that was maybe 5 minutes into the game. The team responds and grows the lead, grows the margin. Don't even think about injuries just because there's so many guys to turn to on this team. Now, there's not, necessarily a wealth of big men by any means. So when you talk about depth down low, it gets a little thin and it gets you a little bit worried, but the energy that they bring, the way this team rebounds the basketball, how aggressive they are in the lane, and just the blue collar mentality. Like you said, Herb Jones has won the Hard Hat Award pretty much every time during his career since Nate Oates has been here. And, that award is given based off of just energy and, how many times you're diving for a basketball or how many times, you're making a hustle play. There's a whole point system that I'm not, fully educated on, but, it's pretty much the hustle guy of the game. And this team could give that award to so many guys every time out. These players care, they're bought in. And it's been so fun to watch because since my time here in 2017, we've seen Colin Sexton come through, and I got to give a quick shout out to Colin Sexton. 3,000 points in his career already, or 1,000 points, excuse me, in his career already in the NBA. Just incredible what he's doing there in Cleveland. 3,000 points. No, I had it the first time. But, since that time, that was the same team, essentially, the same leaders. John Petty was on that team. Herb Jones was on that team. A lot of these guys that are leading this team now were around, and the mentality was just different. It's not that they didn't care, but they weren't invested. They weren't fully bought in. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We see certain locker room videos, everything else, but the speeches, I'm sure, are incredible. Whatever Nate Oates is doing to get this team motivated is working. They're bought in and they're winning basketball games.
Well, I think it's motivation, but it's also talent too. That he's able to go out and get Alabama players that are able to compete, and I think that in any of this, look, you're at the Alabama rival site right now, and we cover recruiting. If Alabama football is in a top recruiting class every year, they're not winning national championships. I don't care what Nick Saban says in the locker room. You got to have the talent to go out and do it. And the guys like playing for Nate Oates, he's definitely someone who has come in and just kind of taken things and pushed them in this direction. But still, there is a long way to go. I remember when Mark Gottfried's team got to number 1, they lost the very next game. Tennessee got ranked up there. What were they, like 6th? And then they got blown out by Florida. So it's all about being consistent. And the thing that we've learned from Alabama football, guys, is that there's still, when you have the bullseye on your back, you still have to go out there and perform like it's not there. And that's really tough to do, but Alabama football has kind of shown everyone how you get that done. It's going to be interesting to see Alabama play Kentucky, because even though Kentucky has a really bad record this year for them, and you look at they're 4-3 in the SEC and 5-9 overall, they still have blue chip players all over the court, Tony. They're a team that could come in and beat Alabama. They may have a bad season, but when you get those type of talented players together and they're focused on winning one game against a ranked team, and that's going to be the way it is every time they play now that they're ranked in the top 10. People are going to be gunning for them.
Here's a crazy stat too. 3 times in the last 5 years, Alabama has beaten an SEC team by 15 or more points, only then to come home. Beaten 15 on the road, only then to come home that same season and lose. So, right. How often does that happen? Obviously, if you're good enough to beat somebody by 15 points on the road, you should be handling them at home. But it just shows you need to have that focus. Nate Oates kind of brought up that stat to his team today, and it kind of asked him, well, why is that? And so they brainstormed, the mental, approach you have to play each game. Like you said, this Kentucky team's loaded. Kentucky's always loaded. They're a recruiting machine. They've got, they just beat an LSU team, which is kind of down at the moment, but it's still a really good LSU team. So, I think this, if Alabama comes out and they come and they think, oh, we're a top 10 team now, we don't have to worry about Kentucky, who's 5-9. I think Kentucky will win. But the thing about this Alabama team that's different than other Alabama teams is they're not doing that. They're not coming out, with their chest out saying, oh, just roll the ball on the court and we'll win. This team's taking everyone seriously. They're keeping to that blue collar approach, and they're really just they're winning. They're winning games. Look, they didn't even play as well as they probably should have against Mississippi State, and they still were able to grind out that win. That's following 3 straight blowouts. A lot of times, if you come out flat after so many blowouts, you kind of almost lose track of how to win those close games. And Alabama, kudos to them. They were able to do that. They were able to to get back in that mode. And that just says so much about this team. You got to look at not only the talent that Nate Oates, not only his system, but just how he's gotten them to buy in to effort. I remember that LSU game, watching that and just watching them out run LSU despite being up by like God knows how many points, like 3 touchdowns. You know, they're outrunning this LSU team up and down the court. And that's the best thing about Alabama basketball right now is it's nonstop, and the players have totally bought in.
Oh, I think you're on mute, Mick.
I'll say it again. There was some background noise. I muted myself. But anyway, for all of you guys that are hanging out with us tonight, now that you can hear me, thumbs up and subscribe. We really love hanging out with you. This is the Bama Insider YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about Alabama. This is Monday Night Quarterback, too, the show. Every Monday at 6 o'clock, we get together and break down the latest news with, the crew. And today the crew is Trey and Tony and all you that are hanging out as well. All right, guys, with, kind of hitting our major topics today, going over the new coaches and, getting into the quarterback battle and the basketball team. Senior Bowls this week, Tony. Who's going to be down there? Give us a preview of what you're covering with this Senior Bowl and the Alabama players that are involved.
I believe it's 7. I got to name them out. So it's Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Deontay Brown, Alex Leatherwood, Landon Dickerson, and Thomas Fletcher. Now, obviously, Devontae Smith and Landon Dickerson, they're not going to perform in activities. And I think Najee Harris might be a little questionable too. But, yeah, the Senior Bowl, it has a lot of Alabama stars. It's definitely the only bad thing I can say about the Senior Bowl is that on a year where it has so many notable Alabama stars, including a Heisman winner, it's the year that's probably the hardest for fans to interact with the players. And that's a real shame. Because the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy did a great job of just bringing, stars to Mobile, and Alabama's going to have a lot of them. And I think it's going to benefit some of these Alabama stars, coming to Mobile, because I really think this event, even if you don't perform, like even if like a Devontae Smith, he's going to be able to talk with NFL teams. He's going to get a jump start on that process. And I think that just really pays off. So I think it could be really big for a guy like Mac Jones, who's looking to cement himself as a first-round pick. And look, he's hot right now. If he can come in and have a big-time Senior Bowl, who knows? I mean, who knows what Mac Jones could do? Could he get inside the top 15? I don't know. Maybe if he has a really good Senior Bowl, he's kind of hovering around there. So that would be an interesting thing. I think he might be one of the players with the most to gain down there.
Trey, who do you think's going to the Senior Bowl with the most on the line for Alabama, or from Alabama anyway?
Yeah, I think pretty much all the guys going are in really good spots. I like what Tony's saying about Mac Jones. This could be a huge opportunity for him because you get everybody in one spot. There's been some conversation really about this past season of if it was for real, or if it was just Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle for a certain period of time, making him look like he did. It's real. We know that. Maybe the rest of the country doesn't. I'm sure all 32 NFL scouts do their homework, so I think they know where he's at. But this is another opportunity to prove yourself if you're a guy like Mac Jones. So probably Mac. But if you're an Alabama Crimson Tide player down at this thing, you're hanging out in your home state. You get the coastal life for a couple days, and I think this is more of just a fun experience to kind of recap and in the whole thing for you.
Get to kick it over to Wenzel's, get you some oysters over there, maybe Panini Pete's, do the if you're going out, the nightlife at the garage. I mean, there's a lot to do in Mobile. I know Jake Peavy, the former baseball player, has a few establishments as well, and we'll be keeping an eye on exactly what happens at the Senior Bowl. It's exciting, though. It's always an exciting time of the year to, get all of these great players together and then figure out where they're going to go and all the NFL coaches there to scout. Tony, what else are you covering as we start to kind of head towards the farewell of the show tonight? What can we look for on BamaInsider.com?
Well, definitely, the Senior Bowl too coming up. Is weigh-ins start tomorrow, so we'll be getting that information kind of trickling in. And then, look, the basketball game, I'll be there tomorrow night. I'm really excited to see how Alabama responds to this top 10 ranking as well. And then we'll just kind of monitor. It seems like Alabama's coaching search is kind of wrapping up, but they still need to make a hire at that tight end special teams role. So we'll be monitoring that as well.
What about you, Trey? What do you got going on this week?
Yeah, we got our Bama Insider Daily Factor show continuing this week. Excited to do round 2 here on Friday. I know you got a couple this week as well, Mick. Just a lot of great content continuing to pump out. Alabama is on top in everything. I thought about it today. You got all 3 teams ranked. Softball's preseason ranked in the top 10. So our jobs do not get any easier just when football season ends. It almost picks up to an extent. You got Senior Bowl this week. We're going to have great coverage on that. Recapping this basketball game as well. And, just trying to soak it all in as we continue to get closer to spring practice. Some question marks, like we talked about tonight. Is Bryce Young the answer? It's going to be fun to keep, seeing his development this offseason, seeing how these new coaches get involved and acclimate to the program. We're going to be here for you guys, all the way. Keep getting in these comments, keep hitting us with the likes, the subscriptions. It's awesome, guys. This is the time to do it. Get in on the ground floor with basketball, if nothing else, as football gets ready to try to win number 19 this upcoming season. We had a super chat question earlier here. Tony, I'm gonna address this one to you here. I think you probably know more than I do. JT, and I know I'm messing this up. This name, some other names have really stumped me this offseason. Tua Molui, is he a lock for Ohio State? We had a super chat question earlier.
Yeah, this is more of a question for Bones Show tomorrow, but I was hearing he was more leaning towards Ohio State, but that, like I said, I'm not probably the one to ask. Bones probably a little bit more in depth on that question. So we'll have a show tomorrow where the guy answering it will be a much better source for that question than I would. But yeah, from what I had heard, I think I might have talked to Bone about it before, but that was a while back. So I don't want to give you any misinformation. I don't think he's leaning towards Alabama. I don't think he's trending that way. But like I said, come back tomorrow and ask Andrew Bone, because he'll set you straight.
Bone will have his show tomorrow night with Kyle Henderson, 6:00. So make sure you guys come back for that. And, follow the latest as we head towards that February final signing day, right? And Alabama right now with some guys who have been shuffled around as far as how many stars they have. Bone will be getting into that tomorrow, and the class just seems to get better and better. And look, you put a certain running back from Texas in there, Kamar Wheaton, and maybe a couple of transfers, which we're still waiting on the transfer rule, whether they're going to give them an exemption where you can transfer 1 year without having to sit out, and that could change some things as well. So it's definitely an exciting time of the year as we see how this roster is going to look for next season. All right. Anything else that you guys have, Tony, Trey, before we dip out tonight?
No, man, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think I'm good too. Thanks for being here as always, guys. This show's a whole lot of fun, and we're gonna have a big week. So thanks for getting in there. Hit that like button one more time for me.
Yeah, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all of you guys for being with us tonight. That concludes our episode of Monday Night Quarterback. But come back next Monday at 6:00. We'll be here tomorrow night at 6. We'll have a live show with Kyle and Andrew Bone talking recruiting, and every night at 6:00 we got something else really fun for you. So make sure you hang out, check out our YouTube channel, and thanks for watching, guys. I'm Nick Gillespie. Roll Tide, everybody.